In a secluded corner of the forest, where sunlight filtered through lush green leaves, stood an old cabin steeped in secrets and memories of a family long gone. It was here that Liam and Sophie, once inseparable siblings, returned to confront the fractures in their relationship after the sudden passing of their mother. The cabin, a place filled with laughter and tears, beckoned them to rediscover not just a home, but themselves. As summer approached, the cabin transformed from a mere shelter into a symbol of hope and healing. Yet, as shadows from the past began to resurface, could they overcome their differences and rebuild the bond that had been shattered? Their journey was not just about restoring a house. It was about reclaiming the love and connection they once shared. Join Liam and Sophie on a poignant journey where memories, pain, and hope intertwine, guiding them toward an emotional exploration of family and the ties that bind us all. Liam Carter stood on the balcony of his New York City apartment, staring out at the bustling streets below. At 30, he had built a successful career as a lawyer, but the weight of his mother's recent passing hung heavily on his heart. He had always been the ambitious one, chasing after cases and accolades, while his sister, Sophie, had chosen a different path. At 28, she was a talented interior designer, living in their hometown, a quaint little place nestled by a serene lake. The family cabin by the lake had been a sanctuary for them both, a place where they had spent countless summers swimming, fishing, and laughing under the sun. It was where their mother, Margaret Carter, had instilled in them the values of family and tradition. Now, with Margaret gone, Liam felt a profound sense of loss, not just for his mother, but for the memories tied to that cabin. As he sipped his coffee, his phone buzzed with a message from Sophie. "Can we talk? It's important." A knot formed in his stomach. He hadn't spoken to her since the funeral, and he could sense that something was off. When they finally connected over the phone, Sophie's voice was shaky. "Liam, I sold the cabin," she said, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I didn't think you'd mind. You're always so busy with your work and it's just sitting there, right?" "What do you mean you sold it?" Liam's voice rose, disbelief flooding through him. "That cabin is our family's legacy. You can't just sell it without talking to me." Sophie sighed, her frustration evident. "I needed the money, Liam. You're never around. I thought it was for the best. You've moved on with your life. I'm stuck here trying to keep everything together." Liam felt a surge of anger mixed with sadness. How could she do this? The cabin wasn't just a property. It was a part of their childhood, a symbol of their family bond. "You didn't even ask me. This isn't just your decision to make." As the call ended, Liam's heart raced. He felt betrayed, and the memories of summers spent at the cabin flooded back. His mother's laughter, the smell of pine trees, and the warmth of family gatherings. He knew he had to do something. This wasn't over. With a heavy heart, he decided to dig deeper into the situation. He needed to understand what had happened and why Sophie felt she could make such a monumental decision without him. The cabin was more than just a house. It was a piece of their family history, and he wasn't ready to let it go without a fight. Liam paced his apartment, the weight of Sophie's words echoing in his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. How could she sell the cabin without even consulting him? It was as if she had ripped a piece of their childhood away without a second thought. He grabbed his phone and dialed Sophie's number again, but it went straight to voicemail. Frustrated, he tossed his phone onto the couch and sank into a chair, trying to calm the storm brewing inside him. The next day, he decided to take a trip back to their hometown. The drive was filled with memories, each mile bringing back images of summers spent at the cabin, fishing with his mother, and building forts in the woods with Sophie. As he pulled into the familiar driveway, he felt a mix of nostalgia and anger. The cabin stood there just as he remembered, but it felt different now, tainted by Sophie's decision. And whenever he saw the normal walk to the cabin and back, Sophie was already there, standing on the porch, her arms crossed defensively. "Liam, I didn't think you'd come," she said, her voice a mix of surprise and apprehension. "How could you sell it, Sophie?" he demanded, stepping closer. "You didn't even ask me. This was our home, our family's legacy. I thought you'd understand. she replied, her voice rising. "You're always so busy with your career. I'm the one who's been here, taking care of everything. I needed the money to pay off some debts. You don't know what it's like to struggle." Liam felt a pang of guilt, but quickly pushed it aside. "That doesn't give you the right to make decisions for both of us. Mom would have wanted us to talk about this. You know how much that cabin meant to her." Sophie's expression hardened. "You think I don't know that? I loved that cabin too. But it's just a building, Liam. We can't live in the past forever." "Just a building?" Liam echoed, incredulous. "It's not just a building, it's where we grew up. It's where Mom taught us about family and love. You can't just throw that away." Sophie turned away, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I didn't throw it away. I thought I was doing what was best for us. You've moved on, and I'm still here, trying to keep everything together." Liam took a deep breath, trying to rein in his anger. "You think selling the cabin is going to solve your problems. You're just running away from them. We need to face this together." Sophie looked at him, her expression softening. "What do you want me to do, Liam? I can't keep the cabin if I can't afford to maintain it. I thought you'd be relieved." "Relieved?" he said, shaking his head. "I'm not relieved. I'm furious. You've made a huge mistake, and I'm not going to let it go without a fight." As the tension hung thick in the air, Liam's mind raced. He needed to find a way to stop the sale. He remembered their mother's meticulous nature and how she always kept everything organized. Maybe there was something in her will that could help him. He decided to visit their mother's lawyer, hoping to uncover any hidden clauses that could protect their family legacy. The next day, Liam met with Mr. Thompson, their mother's lawyer, in his office. The walls were lined with books, and the air smelled of old paper and leather. "Liam, it's good to see you," Mr. Thompson said, his voice warm but serious. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," Liam replied, his heart heavy. "I need to know about the cabin. Sophie sold it without my consent, and I want to understand if there's anything in Mom's will that can help." Mr. Thompson nodded, pulling out a file. "Your mother was very particular about her wishes. Let's see what we have here." He flipped through the pages, his brow furrowing. "Ah, here it is. Your mother included a clause regarding the cabin. It states that it cannot be sold without the unanimous agreement of both heirs." Liam's heart raced. "So Sophie can't sell it without my consent?" "Correct," Mr. Thompson said, looking up. "If she has already initiated the sale, it may be considered invalid." A wave of relief washed over Liam, but it was quickly followed by a sense of determination. "I need to confront Sophie with this. She needs to understand the gravity of what she's done." As he left the office, Liam felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't going to let Sophie's impulsive decision destroy their family legacy. He would fight for the cabin, not just for himself, but for their mother's memory and the bond they once shared. Liam drove back to the cabin, his mind racing with thoughts of the clause he had just learned about. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue over the lake, but he barely noticed the beauty around him. All he could think about was confronting Sophie and making her understand the implications of her actions. When he arrived, Sophie was sitting on the porch, her head in her hands. The sight of her like that tugged at his heart, but he pushed the feeling aside. He needed to be firm. "Sophie," he called out, stepping onto the porch. She looked up, her eyes red from crying. "We need to talk." "I know," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry, Liam. I didn't mean to hurt you." "Didn't mean to hurt me," he replied, frustration bubbling to the surface. "You sold our family cabin without even consulting me. Do you have any idea how much that place means to us?" "I thought it was for the best," she insisted, her voice rising again. "I thought you'd be happy to be rid of it. You're always so busy with your life in the city." Liam took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I went to see Mr. Thompson today. Mom left a clause in her will. The cabin can't be sold without both of our consent." Sophie's expression shifted from anger to confusion. "What do you mean? I signed the papers. It's done." "No, it's not done," Liam said, his voice steady. "The sale is invalid. Mom wanted us to make decisions together about the cabin. She knew how important it was to both of us. Sophie's face paled as the realization sank in. You're serious? Absolutely, Liam replied. We need to talk to the buyers and explain the situation. We can't let this go through. Sophie stood up, her hands trembling. I didn't know, Liam. I thought I was doing what was best. I thought you didn't care about the cabin anymore. I do care, Sophie. I just didn't think I had to fight for it, he said, his voice softening. But we can't let this mistake define us. We need to work together to fix it. Sophie nodded slowly, tears welling in her eyes. I'm so sorry. I was just scared. I thought if I sold it, I could finally get my life back on track. Liam stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. I understand. We're both dealing with a lot right now, but we can't let fear drive our decisions. We need to honor Mom's memory and the legacy she left us. As they stood on the porch, the weight of their shared grief hung in the air. Liam could see the pain in Sophie's eyes, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of understanding. They were both struggling, just in different ways. Let's go inside, he suggested. We can figure this out together. Inside the cabin, the familiar scent of pine and old wood enveloped them. Liam felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him as he looked around at the photos of their family on the walls. He could almost hear their mother's laughter echoing in the rooms. Sophie walked over to the fireplace, running her fingers over the mantel. I remember all the times we spent here, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Mom would make hot cocoa, and we'd sit by the fire, telling stories. Yeah, Liam replied, his heart aching. This place is filled with memories. It's not just a cabin, it's our home. Sophie turned to him, her expression serious. What do we do now? How do we stop the sale? We need to contact the buyers and explain the situation, Liam said, feeling a sense of urgency. We can't let them take it from us. We have to be honest about what happened. Sophie nodded, determination replacing her earlier despair. I'll call them. I'll explain everything. I'll take responsibility for my mistake. Liam felt a surge of pride for his sister. And I'll be right there with you. We'll face this together. As they prepared to make the call, Liam felt a sense of hope. Maybe this was the turning point they needed. They could reclaim not just the cabin, but their relationship as siblings. They could honor their mother's memory and the lessons she had taught them about family and love. With the phone in hand, Sophie took a deep breath. Here goes nothing, she said, dialing the number. Liam stood beside her, ready to support her as they faced the consequences of their actions together. Sophie's hands trembled slightly as she held the phone to her ear, waiting for the buyer to pick up. Liam stood beside her, his heart racing. The weight of the moment pressed down on them both, but he felt a sense of solidarity with his sister. They were in this together, and they had to face the consequences of their actions head-on. Hello? A voice crackled through the line. Hi, this is Sophie Carter, she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. I'm calling about the cabin we sold to you. I need to discuss something important. Sure, what's going on? The buyer replied, sounding curious. Sophie exchanged a glance with Liam, who nodded encouragingly. There's been a misunderstanding. My brother and I didn't realize that the sale was invalid. Our mother left a clause in her will stating that the cabin cannot be sold without both of our consent. There was a pause on the other end, and Liam could feel the tension in the air. I see. That's quite a serious claim. Are you saying the sale is not legitimate? Yes, Sophie replied, her voice gaining strength. We need to discuss how to rectify this situation. We don't want to cause any trouble, but we can't let the sale go through. All right, let me talk to my partner and get back to you, the buyer said, sounding a bit taken aback. This is unexpected. As the call ended, Sophie let out a shaky breath. I can't believe I just did that, she said, her eyes wide with a mix of relief and anxiety. You did great, Liam reassured her. Now we just have to wait and see what they say. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. Liam and Sophie spent hours discussing their mother's legacy. the memories tied to the cabin, and the mistakes they had both made. They began to understand each other's perspectives, and slowly, the walls between them started to crumble. Then, one afternoon, they received a call from the buyer's lawyer. "We need to meet to discuss the situation," he said. "It's important that we resolve this matter quickly." Liam and Sophie exchanged nervous glances. "When and where?" Liam asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Tomorrow at my office. I'll send you the details," the lawyer replied, before hanging up. The next day they arrived at the lawyer's office, a sleek building in the heart of town. The atmosphere was tense as they entered the conference room, where the buyers were already seated, looking anxious. The lawyer, a sharp-dressed man in his 40s, gestured for them to sit. "Thank you for coming," he said, his tone professional. "I understand there's been a misunderstanding regarding the sale of the cabin." "Yes," Liam said, taking the lead. "Our mother left a clause in her will that requires both of us to agree to any sale of the property. Sophie didn't realize this when she sold it." The buyers exchanged glances, and the lawyer leaned forward. "We appreciate your honesty, but we've already invested time and money into this purchase. We were under the impression that everything was in order." Sophie spoke up, her voice firm. "I understand that, but we can't ignore our mother's wishes. The cabin is a significant part of our family history, and we want to honor that." The lawyer nodded, acknowledging their point. "I understand the emotional attachment, but we need to find a solution that works for everyone. What do you propose?" Liam glanced at Sophie, who looked determined. "We'd like to buy the cabin back," he said. "We'll reimburse you for any expenses you've incurred, but we need to reclaim our family home." The buyers looked at each other, clearly weighing their options. "That's a significant financial commitment," the lawyer said. "Are you prepared to follow through?" "Yes," Sophie replied without hesitation. "We'll find a way. This cabin means everything to us." After a lengthy discussion, they reached an agreement. Liam and Sophie would buy back the cabin for a fair price, and the buyers would be reimbursed for their expenses. It was a relief, but it also meant they had to come up with a substantial amount of money, quickly. As they left the office, a sense of accomplishment washed over them. They had faced the challenge together and come out stronger. "I can't believe we did it," Sophie said, her eyes shining with determination. "Well, we did," Liam replied, feeling a sense of pride in his sister. "But now we need to figure out how to finance this." Over the next few weeks, they worked tirelessly to gather the funds. Liam reached out to his contacts in the legal field, seeking advice on how to secure a loan. Sophie began to take on extra design projects, pouring her heart into each one, determined to contribute to their goal. As they worked side by side, they began to rebuild their relationship. They shared stories, laughed over old memories, and slowly started to heal the rift that had formed between them. The cabin became a symbol of their renewed bond, a place where they could reconnect with their past and each other. Finally, the day came when they were able to finalize the purchase. Standing in front of the cabin, they felt a wave of nostalgia wash over them. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the lake, just as it had done during their childhood. "We did it, Liam," Sophie said, her voice filled with emotion. "We saved it." "Yeah, we did," he replied, a smile spreading across his face. "And we did it together." As they stepped inside the cabin, the familiar scent of pine and memories enveloped them. They knew there was still work to be done, but for the first time in a long time, they felt hopeful about the future. With the cabin officially back in their possession, Liam and Sophie felt a renewed sense of purpose. They stood in the living room, surrounded by the familiar sights and sounds of their childhood. The old wooden beams, the fireplace that had seen countless family gatherings, and the photographs lining the walls all whispered stories. "Where do we start?" Sophie asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "There's so much to do." Liam chuckled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "How about we start with the garden? Mom always loved it when we helped her plant flowers." Sophie nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, I remember those summer days spent digging in the dirt and planting her favorite roses. Let's bring it back to life." As they stepped outside, the garden was overgrown and wild, but the potential was still there. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work, pulling weeds, trimming back overgrown bushes, and clearing away debris. With each passing hour, they shared stories and memories, laughing as they reminisced about their childhood adventures. "Remember that time we tried to build a treehouse?" Liam said, wiping sweat from his brow. "We thought we could make it 2 stories high, but it ended up being a glorified platform." Sophie laughed, her eyes shining. "And we got in so much trouble when Mom found out. She was so worried we'd fall and hurt ourselves." "Yeah, but she also helped us build it," Liam replied, a fond smile on his face. "She always believed in us, even when we were being reckless." As they worked, the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and for the first time in a long while, they felt a sense of peace. They were not just restoring the garden, they were rebuilding their relationship. After a long day of hard work, they sat on the porch, exhausted but satisfied. "I can't believe how much we accomplished today," Sophie said, leaning back in her chair. "It feels good to be doing this together." "It really does," Liam agreed, looking out at the lake. "I've missed this place more than I realized. It's not just a cabin, it's a part of who we are." Sophie turned to him, her expression serious. "Liam, I want to apologize for everything. I was so caught up in my own struggles that I didn't think about how my actions would affect you. I'm really sorry for selling the cabin without talking to you first." Liam nodded, appreciating her honesty. "I understand, Sophie. I was so focused on my career that I didn't realize how much you were struggling. I should have been there for you. We both made mistakes, but I'm glad we're working through them now." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of their shared grief and regret slowly lifting. "What do you think Mom would say if she saw us now?" Sophie asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "I think she'd be proud," Liam replied, a smile spreading across his face. "She always wanted us to support each other no matter what." As the days turned into weeks, Liam and Sophie continued to work on the cabin and the garden. They painted walls, repaired furniture, and transformed the space into a warm, inviting home once again. Each project brought them closer together, and they began to rediscover the bond they had lost. One evening, as they were finishing up a particularly challenging renovation, Sophie turned to Liam with a thoughtful expression. "You know, I've been thinking about what we can do with this place. It's not just a family cabin anymore. It could be something more." "What do you mean?" Liam asked, intrigued. "What if we turned it into a rental property? We could share this beautiful place with others and create new memories for families just like ours," she suggested, her eyes lighting up with excitement. Liam considered her idea. "That could work. We could use the income to maintain the property and maybe even fund some of our own projects, plus it would keep the spirit of the cabin alive." Sophie nodded eagerly. "Exactly. We could host family gatherings, retreats, or even workshops. It could be a place for people to reconnect with nature and each other." As they brainstormed ideas, Liam felt a sense of hope and excitement for the future. They were not just restoring a cabin, they were creating a legacy that honored their mother's memory and brought families together. With their plan in place, they began to prepare the cabin for guests. They decorated the rooms with cozy furnishings, added personal touches that reflected their family history, and created a welcoming atmosphere. The cabin was transforming into a beautiful retreat, and they couldn't wait to share it with others. As they stood on the porch one evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Liam turned to Sophie. "I'm really proud of us. We've come a long way." "Yeah, we have," she replied, her voice filled with emotion. "I never thought we could rebuild our relationship like this. It feels good to be a team again." "Here's to new beginnings," Liam said, raising an imaginary glass. "And to honoring Mom's legacy." Sophie smiled, her heart full. "To new beginnings." As the weeks passed, the cabin transformed into a vibrant retreat, filled with laughter and the spirit of family. Liam and Sophie worked tirelessly to prepare for their first guests, and the excitement in the air was palpable. They had created a website showcasing the beauty of the cabin and the surrounding area, and soon inquiries began to pour in. One sunny morning, as they were setting up the final touches, Liam received a call from a family interested in renting the cabin for a week. "Hello, this is Liam Carter," he said, his voice bright with enthusiasm. "Hi, Liam, this is Sarah Thompson. My family and I are really interested in your cabin. We're looking for a place to reconnect and spend some quality time together," the woman said, her voice warm and inviting. "That sounds wonderful, Sarah. We'd love to have you. The cabin is perfect for family gatherings and we have plenty of activities planned for guests," Liam replied, feeling a surge of pride. After discussing the details, they finalized the booking and Liam hung up the phone, grinning from ear to ear. "We did it, Sophie. Our first guests are coming next week." Sophie clapped her hands in excitement. "This is amazing. I can't believe how far we've come. It feels like a dream." As the day of their guests' arrival approached, Liam and Sophie prepared the cabin with care. They stocked the kitchen with snacks, set up cozy bedding, and even created a welcome basket filled with local treats and a handwritten note. They wanted to ensure that their guests felt at home. When the Thompson family arrived, Liam and Sophie greeted them with warm smiles. The family consisted of Sarah, her husband Mark, and their two children, Emily and Jake. The kids' eyes lit up as they took in the beauty of the cabin and the surrounding landscape. "Welcome to our family cabin," Liam said, gesturing for them to come inside. "We're so glad you're here." As the Thompsons settled in, Liam and Sophie took the opportunity to share stories about the cabin's history. They talked about their childhood memories, the summers spent fishing and swimming, and the lessons their mother had taught them about family and love. "This place is beautiful," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling. "I can see why it means so much to you." "It really does," Sophie replied, her heart swelling with pride. "We want to create a space where families can come together and make their own memories." Over the next few days, the Thompsons enjoyed everything the cabin had to offer. They hiked the nearby trails, swam in the lake, and even joined Liam and Sophie for a bonfire under the stars. Laughter filled the air as they roasted marshmallows and shared stories, creating a sense of community that Liam and Sophie had hoped for. One evening, as they sat around the fire, Emily and Jake asked Liam and Sophie about their favorite memories at the cabin. "What was the best summer you ever had here?" Jake asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Liam exchanged a glance with Sophie and they both smiled. "There are so many," Liam began. "But one summer we decided to build a tree house. We thought we could make it 2 stories high, but it ended up being a disaster." Sophie laughed, adding, "And we got in so much trouble when Mom found out, but she helped us build it anyway, and we spent the whole summer playing in it." The Thompsons listened intently, captivated by the stories. "That sounds like so much fun," Sarah said, her smile warm. "We want to create memories like that too." As the week came to an end, the Thompsons expressed their gratitude. "Thank you for sharing your family cabin with us," Sarah said, her voice sincere. "We've had an incredible time, and we'll cherish these memories forever." Liam and Sophie felt a sense of fulfillment wash over them. They had not only restored the cabin, but had also created a space for others to experience the joy and love that had once filled it. After the Thompsons left, Liam and Sophie sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the lake. "I can't believe how well it went," Liam said, a smile on his face. "We really did it." We did," Sophie replied, her heart full. "And it feels amazing to know that we're continuing Mom's legacy." As they sat in comfortable silence, Liam turned to Sophie. I think we should make this a regular thing. We can host families, retreats, and even workshops. There's so much potential here." Sophie's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. We can create a community around this cabin, just like Mom wanted. We can help others reconnect with their families and nature." With renewed determination, they began to brainstorm ideas for future events. They envisioned family weekends, art retreats, and even gardening workshops, all aimed at fostering connections and creating lasting memories. As the seasons changed, the cabin became a hub of activity. Families came and went, each leaving behind their laughter and stories. Liam and Sophie found joy in watching others create memories in the space that had once been their sanctuary. Through this journey, they not only restored a cabin, but also rebuilt their relationship as siblings. They learned to communicate openly, support each other, and cherish the bond they shared. The cabin had become a symbol of their growth, resilience, and the love that would always connect them. As they prepared for another group of guests, Liam looked at Sophie and smiled. "Here's to new beginnings and the memories yet to come." "Cheers to that," Sophie replied, raising an imaginary glass. "And to Mom, who brought us back together." As the seasons turned, the cabin flourished with life and laughter. Liam and Sophie had successfully established a rhythm, hosting families and creating a welcoming environment that honored their mother's legacy. Each group brought new energy, and with every visit the cabin felt more alive, echoing with the sounds of joy and connection. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned vibrant shades of orange and gold, Liam and Sophie sat at the kitchen table, sipping hot cocoa and reviewing their plans for the upcoming winter season. The air was filled with the scent of cinnamon and pine, and the warmth of the fireplace made the cabin feel cozy and inviting. "I think we should host a holiday retreat this year," Sophie suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We could offer families a chance to escape the hustle and bustle of the holidays and spend quality time together." Liam nodded, considering the idea. "That sounds perfect. We could have activities like tree decorating, cookie baking, and even a winter hike. It would be a great way to create new traditions." Sophie grinned. "And we can invite families to share their own traditions, too. It could be a beautiful blend of cultures and stories." As they brainstormed, the idea of a holiday retreat began to take shape. They envisioned a weekend filled with laughter, warmth, and the spirit of togetherness. They would decorate the cabin with twinkling lights, set up a large tree in the living room, and prepare a feast that would make everyone feel at home. As the retreat date approached, they worked tirelessly to prepare. They reached out to local businesses for support, gathering supplies and ingredients for their planned activities. The excitement in the air was palpable, and they could hardly wait to welcome their guests. Finally, the day arrived. Families began to trickle in, each one greeted with warm smiles and the aroma of freshly baked cookies. The cabin was adorned with festive decorations, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter and chatter. Among the guests was the Thompson family, who had returned after their first visit. "We couldn't resist coming back for the holiday retreat," Sarah exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. "We had such a wonderful time last summer." As the weekend unfolded, Liam and Sophie led the families in various activities. They decorated the tree together, sharing stories about their favorite ornaments and the memories attached to them. The children giggled as they hung their creations, and the adults reminisced about their own childhood traditions. On the second day, they organized a cookie baking competition. Flour flew through the air as families teamed up to create their own unique recipes. The kitchen was filled with laughter, and the sweet scent of baking cookies wafted through the cabin. As evening approached, they gathered around the fireplace for a storytelling session. Liam and Sophie shared tales from their childhood, recounting the adventures they had at the cabin and the lessons their mother had taught them about family and love. "Mom always said that the best memories are made when we're together," Liam said, looking around at the smiling faces. "This cabin is a testament to that," Sophie added. "And we want to create a space where everyone can make their own memories, just like we did." As the night wore on, families shared their own stories, creating a tapestry of experiences that connected them all. Laughter echoed through the cabin, and the warmth of the fire wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. On the final night of the retreat, they gathered outside for a bonfire. The stars twinkled above, and the crackling of the fire created a soothing backdrop. Liam and Sophie prepared s'mores, and the children eagerly gathered around, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. "Let's make a toast," Liam said, raising his marshmallow on a stick. "To family, to love, and to the memories we create together." Everyone raised their s'mores in agreement, their hearts full. "To family," they echoed, their voices mingling with the night air. As the retreat came to a close, families expressed their gratitude. "This has been the best holiday we've ever had," Sarah said, her eyes misty with emotion. "Thank you for creating such a beautiful space for us." Liam and Sophie felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had not only honored their mother's legacy, but had also created a community that thrived on connection and love. The cabin had become a sanctuary for families, a place where they could escape the chaos of life and find solace in each other. As the last guests departed, Liam and Sophie stood on the porch, watching the sun set over the lake. The sky was painted in hues of pink and purple, and the air was crisp with the promise of winter. "I can't believe how far we've come," Sophie said, her voice filled with emotion. "This cabin has become so much more than just a place for us. It's a home for so many families." Liam nodded, feeling a swell of pride. "And it's all because we chose to work together. We honored Mum's wishes and created something beautiful." Sophie turned to him, her eyes shining. "I'm so grateful for you, Liam. I never thought we could rebuild our relationship like this." "Me too, Sophie," he replied, a smile spreading across his face. "We've created a legacy that will last for generations." As they stood together, the warmth of their bond enveloped them. They knew that the cabin would continue to be a place of love, laughter, and connection, a true testament to their mother's spirit. With hearts full of hope and excitement for the future, they stepped inside, ready to embrace whatever new adventures awaited them. The cabin was not just a building. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of family, love, and the memories that would forever bind them together.